The sun's out, the skies are blue. It's a perfect afternoon. Now the only thing that could really make it better is some barbecue. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook some ribs, and I'm gonna do the video for the beginner style. So if you are learning how to cook ribs, some pork ribs, this video is most definitely for you. I'm gonna try to hit all the minute little things along the way to help you make sure you come out with awesome backyard ribs. First step you need to do with ribs and most barbecue meats is you need to rinse them off. If you bought your ribs frozen, give them 2 days or so to thaw out, or you can put them in a water bath for about 2 hours and they should be okay, depending on how frozen they were. I'm just gonna give them a nice rinse. You can see this one has a little more bend to it. That's a better, more tender meat. Now it's time to do a little bit of trimming on them. And I don't like to do much trimming. Babybacks usually need a little bit of trimming. If you see, here's our last bone over here. This is probably not gonna cook the same way that the rest of the rib is, which means it'll probably burn. If this end is somewhat tidy and neat, then I'll cut it on this side of the bone. But if it's not, I'll usually take the whole bone off and cut it right against the bone. In this case, I think I'm gonna just trim the excess sloppiness off here, and I think it'll be fine. Okay, same thing on the other side. This side's actually not that bad. There's a little bone right here, so we're gonna cut that out. Now we're gonna do the same thing on this rack. Now you can see this end's even more sloppy than that last one, so I'm gonna cut inside the bone on this one. All right, so one tip when pulling the membrane, and the membrane is on the back side of the ribs. This can be tricky sometimes, especially if you're new at cooking ribs. One of the easiest ways to do this is take your knife on top of a bone and get just under the membrane, get it started. Okay, so when you get the knife under it like that, replace the knife with your finger. Let's see, kind of work your finger under there. See how that's going? And now we have this side and that side. I'm going to try to pull up evenly all the way. There we go. That wasn't so bad. Now this is the part where you want to be careful not to cross-contaminate. You have your rub in one hand, and your other hand is the hand that you're going to handle the ribs with. I see a lot of people that, you know, and maybe it's in their editing, but I know I've seen some videos where people just directly go from the raw meat to the rub, and you don't want to do that. I'm going to use this on one set of ribs. It's Cosmos Q Dirty Bird. Good stuff. And if you hold it about 8-10 inches away from the ribs, it will usually get you a little more even coverage. Now on the underside of the ribs, you don't need to put a whole lot of rub. We're not looking to develop an incredible bark on the bones, but do make sure you hit your sides. And on the top side, a nice even coat. Try to get your sides the same amount that you get the center. And you can see already these ribs are just sucking this rub up. On this other set, I'm gonna use Bad Byron's butt rub. So I would encourage you to try new flavors, new methods, you know, experiment with it. See what works for you. Flavors are very, very subjective. You know, you can watch all the videos you want as far as how to flavorize your barbecue. Flavor is incredibly subjective, so it's really up to you to get the flavor that you're looking for. Generally, I never use binders. I know a lot of people, you know, they use it on everything, even their steaks sometimes, but like I said, I don't think binders are necessary. Here's my favorite part of barbecue, is outside with the grill. It's absolutely my favorite part. Get a beer, you can get everything rolling, and then just sit by the grill or sit by the pool or sit in your backyard on your deck or whatever you have and just relax. Kind of keep an eye on things. I love that part of barbecue. The differences between pits comes with the flavor. So your offsets and your charcoal and kettle, they're gonna give you a little heavier flavor, whereas your Masterbuilt or your electric smokers and pellet grills, they're gonna give you a milder flavor. top it off with these lumberjack grilling pellets. And this is 100% hickory. And I've never used the lumberjack, but I've heard great things about them. This is the RT680 version. The newer versions actually have Wi-Fi control, and I think they're releasing a Wi-Fi control for this one to upgrade it. To turn the grill on, you just push this power button, and it was previously set at 500 degrees. We're gonna back that down because we're gonna be cooking at 250 degrees. Cool thing about the RecTech is at 250 degrees and below, it has a feature called the extreme smoke function. And that's this button right here. You just touch that, and what that does, it gives you a little more pellets to create a little extra smoke. If you are cooking on a pellet grill, I suggest investing in one of these. This is a 12-inch smoker tube. You fill it with pellets, kind of keep the end that's open elevated a little bit, or you can stand it straight up, which is what I do. Light it. You want to make sure it's well lit. It's going to take about 5 minutes or so. And I just do it right out of the hopper here, because when I drop some, it really doesn't matter. Now again, we're being real careful not to cross-contaminate. My dirty hand is my left hand, my right hand is clean. I want to keep it that way. Now I know a lot of people cook them at 225 and a lot of people cook them at 275. I seriously think 250 is the absolute perfect temperature to cook your ribs, but play around with it and see what you think. In the comments below, tell me, what temperature do you cook your ribs at? Any lower, and I think you're gonna run the risk of drying them out, and any higher, you're gonna run the risk of burning them, especially if you have any sugar in your rubs. Anytime I'm cooking ribs, I spritz for the first 3 hours about every half an hour. Now let me talk about spritzing, because some people spritz, some people don't spritz, some people spritz with all kinds of crazy stuff. The best spritz is something basic with a little flavor. So you have like apple cider vinegar, and I'll just tell you what I use. I use 1 part apple juice, and then I use a 1/2 part apple cider vinegar. All right, it's been a half hour. Let's go ahead and spritz the ribs. And again, this is 1 part apple juice, a 1/2 part apple cider vinegar. Put it on like a misting setting. Then you get nice, even coverage over all the ribs. The spritz is going to allow the smoke to stick to the meat more. Smoke sticks to meat more when it's cooler in temperature. That's why after meat hits a certain temperature, it's about 130 to 140 internal, it's not going to take any more smoke. It's been 3 hours. Let's take a look at the ribs. I've been spritzing every half an hour. So what we're looking for is color. We want them to get to that nice mahogany, you know, pretty color, and I think we're there. The color's good, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap these guys. I wrap in foil. I'm gonna have a video that compares foil versus paper, and I'll put the link up above, but you're gonna see that foil is a better cook. It just turns out a much better rib. We're gonna now switch, and we're gonna go down like that. First, let's go ahead and get some brown sugar in. And you're just gonna get a nice bead of brown sugar. And I'm gonna put a bead of some squeezed butter. You can use real butter, it's up to you, not a big deal. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of get the foil rolled up here. And we're gonna put some apple juice, apple cider mixture, same thing as our spritz. And we're gonna fold this end in, fold that end in. Be careful now, because where the bones stick out, it'll poke a hole in the foil. And we're gonna go just like that for around 1 hour, 45 minutes or so. All right, we have a total of 5 cooking hours. It's time to see if these guys are done. The time you pull meat off is usually the most important thing you can do for any cook. What I'm looking at first is any pullback from the bone, and there's not a whole lot, so I'm thinking these need to cook a little longer, but let's find out for sure. To find out if your ribs are done for sure, between the bones, you take a toothpick, and now look closely. If it pulls back, if the top of the rib or any part of the rib pulls back as I'm pulling the toothpick out, they're not done. Okay, that was a little bit hard to tell, but I can tell you it pulled back a little bit. You can kind of see the meat pull back just a hair. But they are, I'm talking about like, it's time to probably glaze the ribs that we're gonna glaze. If we're gonna sauce them or glaze them, now's the time. Okay, so what's in the pot is about a half cup of Stubbs sweet and sticky sauce. You can use any barbecue sauce that you want. Then I'm gonna put on some Texas pepper jelly, rib candy, the peach cranberry habanero. So I'm going for about 1-to-1 as far as the rib candy versus the barbecue sauce. Now there's a lot of juice in these ribs. What I want to do is I want to dump the juice in my sauce. With the foil open and kind of let them caramelize. So this is going to take about 20, maybe 30 minutes at most. I'm going to check them with the toothpick again. When they're done, we'll take them inside, let them rest for about an hour. And there it is, guys. Amazing ribs. There's some wonderful, wonderful baby backs. Follow these steps. Let them rest an hour after you pull them off the smoker. And then you can go ahead and slice them. And these guys are gonna be pull off the bone beautiful. Now, I always slice upside down, and that's because you can see the ribs that way. Just fall off the bone. These are some amazing baby back ribs. The basic steps for baby back ribs. Just follow those and you're gonna be eating really good tonight. These are amazing.